picture.
Well, the spring game is Saturday at 3 o'clock at the Coliseum. $10 tickets at the door. Go to usctrojans.com/spring game for more. And JJ and I will be broadcasting Trojans live from the spring game. We will be on the field at the Coliseum, bringing over guests. Legends will be there. We'll try and pull away some coaches and some players throughout. So we'll be here on the Beast from 3 to 5 on Saturday. All right, let's get talking to the coach here. Trojans Live brought to you by your Southern California BMW Centers. For a limited time, lease the first ever all-electric 2014 BMW i3 for as low as $239 a month. Visit SoCalBMW.com today for details. You got one more spring practice left, and then the game. Are you happy with how the spring has played out?
You know, I really am. Jordan, we in year two, there's so much. It's so different. It's hard to explain. Year one, I don't think people really understand when you start to implement schemes. One, offense, defense, special teams. Two, a practice style. What are you trying to get accomplished in practice? How do you want to practice? What are you trying to do? Three, then evaluate your team, because you don't know any of them. Right. So you're trying to look at all of them at the same time. And watching film your first year is exhausting, because literally you can rewind every play, 22 times minimum, because you want to see each 22 players, are they doing their job right? Year two, scheme's in place. Practice style is in place. Guys are starting to understand it. Guys are starting to get it. Now you can really start to focus on the development of players, your younger players maybe who redshirted or didn't play a whole lot as a freshman, their development, nuances to schemes, maybe subtle changes to schemes, maybe things that come off of something that you're doing really well that might make us better on an offense or on a defensive standpoint that could make us even tougher to defend. So much, you start shifting, right? You go from one end of the spectrum. Now we're shifting into year two, doing it all. But it's been a really good spring. It's been competitive. I think our guys have been battling. They've been competing. I've been impressed with a lot of them. Some of them I've challenged, which has been really good. But the end result is, granted, we've had some guys that haven't been out there that have been injured, Jabari Ruffin, Kenny Bigelow, those types of guys. For the most part, this has been a really competitive spring, and the guys have done a great job.
Well, the one thing that we talked about a year ago when spring ball started was the tempo of the offense and the tempo of practice. I mean, the first thing I remember, 121 plays were run like in the first practice. Where do you sit in terms of that tempo? I know you started the year, liking it, got away from it just a little bit. Where do you sit right now going into year two in terms of the tempo of the offense?
Well, we still practice at that tempo, JJ. We still go. And I think which is really cool for us is when anybody that comes and watches us practice within our profession, coaches, we just had half the Miami staff at practice on Tuesday. They were blown away at the energy, the tempo of practice. And as a coach, as the head coach, that's the compliment, right?
Yeah,
that's it. Hey, geez, we like the way you practice. Okay, well, good. Now we need to play that way. But at the end of the day, that part's really cool. We found out about halfway through the year or so, we want to go fast. That goes without saying. We really think that's advantageous to us, that the more snaps we get, the more chances Juju, Stephen Mitchell, Adoree, Darius, Justin, Trey, all these guys, the more chances they have with the ball in their hands to go make plays. But we also found out when Leonard Williams isn't subbing out on the defensive line, when Hayes isn't subbing, when Anthony Sarro's not subbing, when you've got 3, sometimes 4 true freshmen in the defensive backfield, that's more plays they have to play too.
Right.
So we tried to be smart with it. We tried to just find that fine line in there. And what's come out of it for us this spring is, we're finding different tempos. We can go ultra fast. We can go what we call fastball, and it is bang, 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 bang. We can go up tempo, which is at a good pace. We can go no huddle, which we're not huddling, but we can slow it down. And then even now, this spring, what we've gotten some into in certain situations, like the end of the game, 4-minute, we're huddling.
Right.
So we've got varying speeds now that we can get to, and I think that's what you can do in year two. And you have a fifth-year senior quarterback and coach Kessler who can manage all those things. That's all going to play to the benefit of us, because every game's going to be different, as we all know. I mean, we guys, we've sat on the air after every game and talked about the tempo of the game or the end of the game or the beginning or what Arizona was doing, and our defense was on the field for 82 plays in the first half or whatever, you know what I mean? So there's going to be games like that. we have to have the ability offensively to change gears. And I think we have that now, which is pretty cool.
Well, you mentioned we talked a lot about the end of the games last year. We had some crazy endings, and it seems to me a direct result. You talked about looking at the program, digesting it after your first season. In comes the finish challenge as a sort of fun end-of-practice competitive portion. I mean, is that just a direct result that that's where you want these guys' minds to be, is this year it's about finishing?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And you've seen the T-shirts, you've seen coaches and players wearing them around. But to me, for us to take the step from being a good team to a great team, we have to be at our best at the most critical moments. And that's the last 5 minutes of games in college football. I don't care what the score is. We got to be at our best. And we've done these finish challenges, and we've done 1st and 10 competitions. We've done 3rd down competitions. We've done 2-point play competitions. We've done goal line competitions. We've done 4-minute offense competition where the offense had to get 2 first downs to seal the win, or the defense got the ball back. We've done all these competitions, but they've been the last period of practice. So all the stuff we've done, individual, special teams, different team periods, 9-on-7 periods, 7-on-7 periods. Guys are tired. Guys are a little beat up. Now who's going to win practice? And I think it's been awesome that our guys have risen up at the end. And it's goods on goods. It's the best on the best. And it's been phenomenal. There's been days where one side has dominated the other, and that's spring ball. Some of that stuff's going to happen. Yesterday was to me, was one of the really cool practices of it all. For anybody that was out there, our offense was on fire. Granted, Adoree was on offense yesterday, so they didn't have him on defense. But there were deep balls getting thrown. Stephen Mitchell, Ajane, Adoree, I mean, they were all making plays. Deep ball, the whole thing was just, they were having a blast. We go to our 3rd down challenge, it's best of 5. The offense wins the first 2. So they're up 2-0. They have to win 1 more. The defense is struggling. It just hasn't been their best practice. They find a way to win the last 3, and they storm the field like you would have thought we were going to the Sugar Bowl or something, right?
Right.
The Rose Bowl. But that's what it's going to take, I mean, we're going to be in some of those games. We're going to be in games that are 45-42, and our defense has got to take the field and get a stop.
Right.
There's going to be other games when it's 13-10, and our offense is going to get the ball with 2 minutes, and we got to go score. Forget what's happened the previous 55 minutes. What are we going to do right now? And can we dig deep enough to be at our best at that moment? And I think that's what this team is learning and is starting to show. And I really believe we're going to reap the benefits of that come the fall and in our conference, because it's going to be tight.
Yeah.
I'd love to get on the air with you guys and say, hey, we're going to beat everybody by 30. That's not going to happen.
Right.
It's too good right now. And we're going to be in tight ball games, and we need to be at our best in those final few drives of the game. And that's what we're trying to instill in these guys in this finish challenge.
Plenty more to talk about with Coach. We're going to take a quick break here and come right back with your head coach. It's Trojans Live at the Lab talking spring game. It's Trojans Live on the Beast. That was a Juju highlight before we heard an Adoree highlight. I'm Jordan Moore, John Jackson, and the coach. You mentioned Adoree as well. He's been switching back and forth, offense, defense, more of a 50-50 split in spring certainly than we saw in the fall. Are you just simply trying to find the right balance right now for him, or what's your plan for the multi-talented Jackson?
Well, my big thing for Adoree is to be fair to him. I felt like there were times on offense last year. I go back to the Stanford game. We had him in on offense in a really critical drive, and he was in for about 4 or 5 plays straight, and I called something that he wasn't really comfortable with, and he didn't really know what to do. Inevitably, Nelson tried to fix it. It got Cody in trouble, and we almost, I don't want to say wasted a play, but it didn't work. And to be fair to him, we have to expose him to things. We have to have him in meetings. We have to give him a chance to learn so that when we get into the weeks of the season, we say, okay, Adoree, here's your package for your, instead of 10 plays, I want him to know 30 to 35, because there might be drives when we got to have it. We might need them at the end of the game with 4 minutes left and say, you know what, I need our best players on the field. We got to go score. He's got to know the offense. So we've tried to transition into that, as well as defensively him really buying into, okay, I know the defense, but do I know the nuances? Do I really know the fundamentals, the techniques? Where's my help? Doing all those kinds of things too. On top of that, he's returning kicks. On top of that, he's doing track. You know, he's not just jumping. He's running for Carroll. So the guy's amazing. I mean, he really is, and he comes out every day with an awesome attitude. And then you throw him a slant route like we did yesterday, and he goes 80 for a touchdown. You're like, okay, yeah, that's why he's here. You know, I mean, he's that dynamic of a guy. So hopefully Saturday in the game, you know, I'm not trying to kill Adoree Jackson by any means, but I want to give our fans a glimpse of who this guy really is, you know. And we all remember the Nebraska game and the kick return and him catching the ball in the flat and turning it up and going 70 for a touchdown. I mean, he's got all that in him. I want to remind our fans a little bit. I mean, we might get a few more season ticket holders out there. I don't know. We'll see.
You know, talk about the receiver situation as a whole, because, of course, you lose Nelson. You lose George Farmer, of course, to the NFL draft. But now you have Juju, who's going to have to sort of step into that number one role, obviously a different role for him and being a very young receiver, but also the emergence of Stephen Mitchell. What is that combination going to look like? What do you anticipate that combination going to look like next year?
Well, I think Juju is your classic, at least in our system, wide receiver. I mean, this dude is physical. I mean, you see him in person, you go out to practice, you go, whoa. Yeah. He's 216, 217 pounds. He's put together. He's strong. He's smart. He loves being at practice. He brings a great attitude. We've talked about this numerous times, his leadership, all those things. Stephen Mitchell, you think he's a little guy. He weighs 190 pounds. I mean, I always thought, God, he's a 170-pound little guy. He's 190 pounds that, for us in the slot, which is what we used to do is, okay, hey, Nelson, you're an outside receiver, but when we need the slot to get going, we're going to move you into the slot. We don't have to do that anymore. Stephen is a really talented guy. He's had a great spring. And what's cool for us is then you have Darius on the outside on the other side, or an Isaac Whitney who's really come on strong. But then all of a sudden you can go to, hey, we want to go to a speed package. Stephen is smart enough. He can go outside. We can put Adoree in the slot. Now you have Stephen, Adoree, Juju, Justin Davis. Now we're really cooking. And if you want to go to a 4-wide set, go ahead and throw in Darius and or an Ajane Harris. Those guys. Now we're a very multiple group offensively, which is fun. It's challenging though too, right? I mean, because how do you manage and balance all those things? Keep them all happy.
Right.
Keep them all fresh and fun and enjoying the offense, but yet do what's best for SC football to score points over and over and over again.
Give me some spring MVP candidates. Obviously, Stephen Mitchell's had a good spring. Who else has stood out to you?
I think Justin Davis has had a great spring. I think Max Turk has had a great spring. And Toa Lobendon, we've been starting him at left tackle with the ones. Khalil Rogers has been a little nicked up. So when he's nicked up, we start Toa Lobendon at center with the twos. So he plays left tackle and center. Can't ask for much more than that. Adoree, like we said, has been doing his thing. You know, Soma Vanuku and Jaleel Penner have been really good. You know, we've been asking them to carry the ball some. We've been asking them to be traditional fullbacks. We've gotten ourselves, we're preparing for the worst, so we've gotten ourselves into a package where we've got a tailback, a fullback, and 3 wide receivers. And that fullback is more of a hybrid H-back type. That both those guys have done a nice job of. So, and then Max Brown to me has been phenomenal. I know Cody's Cody, and believe me, what he's doing is unbelievable. Max Brown has had a great spring. I mean, I hate saying this because Cody's probably listening to me right now, but if Cody Kessler went down and Max Brown went into the game, I wouldn't blink. I mean, he's playing at such a high level right now. So that part's really cool offensively. Defensively, if Sua Cravens isn't a first-team All-American and Pac-12 Player of the Year on defense, I'd be shocked. I mean, he's just playing phenomenal football. He's rushing the passer well. He's getting his hands on the ball in the run game. He's stripping it. He's tipping balls. I mean, he's just playing really good football right now. John Plattenberg, another guy who's had a great spring. I think Kevon Seymour has elevated his game at the corner spot. Lamar Dawson, I don't know if there's a bigger surprise for a guy who was coming off an ACL who really – we didn't get anything out of him a year ago. For him to come in this spring and do what he's doing, talk about finish challenges, I think he's won 3 of them by himself at the end of games. So that part's been really cool. Delvon Simmons we mentioned. So a lot of guys, you know, we're really improving as a team, which I think is really cool. And the best part of all that is all of those guys know how important this incoming class is to our success. We need them. We need the depth. And they're going to be demanding on these guys to be accountable to the program. This is the best semester we've had when it comes to class attendance, to study hall attendance, to tutor attendance. That's telling me the guys are understanding it, the accountability factor. And they're going to be demanding on these young kids when they show up, because these guys are in it for a purpose, for a reason. They want to win a championship, and they understand how valuable the offseason is. They understand how valuable off the field is to make that happen.
You know, one other thing that you sort of emphasized this spring has been the defense creating turnovers, and that's been, you know, one of the things that you wanted to improve from, you know, even a year ago. How has that gone? How have you implemented it, and how effective do you think you've been this spring?
It started out great. I mean, we were really effective. I mean, to the point where I was getting a little concerned because Cody was throwing some picks.
right.
And I'm like, okay, this is I love our defense getting turnovers, but dang, our quarterback is throwing interceptions right now. And that's the hard part of spring practice, right? I mean, there's a give and take everywhere. We're getting sacks. Well, that means we're getting beat, right? So what I will say about our defense is I think we're a lot more aware, and we're a lot more confident in our ability to go make a play on a ball. I think back to John Plattenberg against Nebraska. He probably could have set a Holiday Bowl record with 4 interceptions and didn't get any of them. But now there's a confidence factor. I think about Lamar Dawson getting his hands on the ball, interceptions. I think about true freshman Cameron Smith, who's here.
Couple pick sixes.
He's got 2 pick sixes at critical moments in practice that tell me, hey, we're bringing in guys that believe in themselves, that are confident in what they're doing. And when you look at the best program in our conference over the last how many years, and I don't like admitting it, but Oregon has done it.
Yep.
They're plus 78, I think, over the last 4 or 5 years in the turnover margin. That's how big of a factor it is in winning and losing. And we were really good a year ago, but we could have been better.
Right.
And we could have been better. And if we're better, maybe we're 10-2 at the end of the regular season, and maybe we're going to play for a conference championship. So at the end of the day, the ball is so critical. And to Cody's credit, only 5 interceptions a year ago. Can he duplicate that? I don't know. I mean, that's a tough number to hold on to, how much we throw the ball. But I do think we can create more. And that's something that we're striving for, and we keep pushing on.
All right, good place to stop talking defense, because Justin Wilcox is going to join us next. We're previewing the spring game here. It's Trojans Live at the Lab.